Today, I want to talk about one of the most consumed substances in the world in cannabis. There's a lot of legalization happening all around the world, and people are asking themselves, is it a drug? Is it a medicine? How can it help me? In what ways can it harm me? And personally, I believe it's very important that whenever we take something, we understand what it does to our body, our mind, our spirit. So in this video, you will find more about that, and also I will share my own personal story with this plant. In the shamanic world, cannabis is referred to as a power plant. The reason for that is because it can amplify your intention. If you want to be more creative, if you want to do some art, that plant is amazing for it. If you want to recover your body, if you want to relax your mind, it can help you with that. If you want to even have a conversation, build a connection with somebody, sharing, it's great for that as well. At the same time, it's also referred to as a diva. And I think this is where it gets really interesting. Because if you don't have that strong intentional approach to this plant, it will start playing with your attention. And you might have noticed that yourself, that you think to yourself, I could do this when I'm high as well, or I could enjoy this activity more if I would smoke. And this is where it starts to creep into your life and might affect your life in more areas than you would like to. I want to share some of my personal story with this plant, and you might be able to relate in some areas. So I started smoking in my late teenage years, and I would have a lot of fun watching movies with friends. Food would taste delicious, we would laugh a lot, and just an overall great time. And I'm not too much of an alcohol person, but I really enjoyed smoking. Later on, when I was living by myself, I started smoking more. Also, at times I would work and smoke at the same time. I felt like it didn't affect me too much, and slowly but surely it would start to creep in more and more into my life. I would be more disorganized as I would like to, and I ended up smoking on a daily basis, and also using this plant to cope with stress or difficult situations in my life. And that would go on for about a year or two, where I was like, okay, this is not healthy anymore. I want to change it, but I couldn't. I didn't have the tools at my disposal to handle the stress. There were certain problems that I was facing and or I wasn't facing, I was avoiding them. And when I wasn't smoking, I was becoming more aware of them, and I didn't know how to deal with it. So the easiest way for me to deal with it was to smoke. And in that moment, I could forget about my problems, but the problems, they don't go away. They stay there, and in a lot of ways they even become bigger. So I would end up smoking for about 2 more years, pretty excessively, and it was affecting me in so many ways. I was not as productive as I would like to be. There was also a lot of mundane parts of my life where, just looking at it, it wasn't really a fun life to look at it from the outside, and it wasn't really fun to live in it as well. And I wasn't getting ahead the way I wanted to, and at one point I really needed to take a strong, honest look at my life about what is going wrong. And I did identify this, wasn't too hard, that this substance was having way too much control over me. So I decided to stop really for good. And I went cold turkey, meaning from smoking daily to stopping smoking. And I tried it a couple of times, but it never really worked out. But there was really a point in my life where I know I needed to change. And first, it was very difficult. The bodily symptoms weren't as strong. It was a hard time sleeping, sweating at night. First 5 to 10 days, I would drink a couple of beers to be able to sleep easier. But then eventually I would get away from that as well, because I'm not too much of an alcohol person. But it's funny and interesting to see how I started to use a different coping mechanism to start to deal with my problems. And about 5 to 10 days later, I also noticed how I was thinking more clearly. I was feeling a lot more. I was also really disappointed and disgusted at myself about how I could let something like that happen to me. And it was very important for me to build healthy habits, to work more, to work out, because that would give me something to do. And because if you don't do anything, that's a lot of times also when certain problems or things that you're running away from start to come up. And then it was very challenging, and I needed to really have that break from the substance. And also, but a way bigger part of it was really facing the things that I was running away from. And I knew that if I don't do it, they just keep on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so that was for me. I think it's also, if you have enough at one point, enough pain, that's when a lot of times the change really happens. And I needed that that strong lesson for me to get going and get a different direction, get more serious about life. And again, a lot of times substance is a coping mechanisms, and it's important to look at the underlying things which are there and start to work on those as well, to be able to not need the substance anymore. Another thing that would creep up is shame and guilt about how can I be so stupid, why didn't I stop earlier, how could I waste so much time, money, energy on something that didn't get me anywhere in life. And I understand now that doesn't really help a lot, because the shame cycle, it keeps us in a loop of being disappointed in ourselves and beating ourselves up, and it doesn't really cause a lot of change. And having compassion with myself, that back then I didn't have the tools to deal with stress, to deal with the problems that I was facing. And now I can do that with certain other plant medicines, with meditation, with breath work, with it being in nature. And so I encourage you to find something that helps you on the inner work, and feel free to share it in the comments as well, of what you're doing to be centered, and your journey with this plant as well, how it is helping you, how it is hindering you in your growth. And again, without shame, without guilt. And I know it's a very touchy subject. Also, feel free to reach out to me about it, and I wish you the best on the journey. Then again, when I stopped, I would eventually start smoke every 6 months, when I was in a situation where I felt, I can enjoy this moment more. At the moment, I smoke about once every 6 weeks, and it's at this point also important for me to not tell myself, hey, I can't do something, or this substance is bad. It's more about understanding what it does to me, my body, my spirit, and having order in my life, having a healthy connection with myself, with the substance as well. And I think that has helped me the most where I am right now. And that's what also I feel like I'm more in control of my life, and I don't have something external having control over me. So feel free to share what's your experience. Also, like this video so more people see it. If you also want more of this kind of content, subscribe to the channel, and I'm happy to see you in the next video.